Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my new video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a few topics, namely Abu Dhabi's visit to China and also Spain's visit to China as well. I'm going to be talking about the kind of impact from Abu Dhabi and Spain is having on Trump. I'm also going to be talking about what's happening in Iran and especially Netanyahu and how he's running things in the United States. And I'm also going to be talking about this clip here, and I'll leave that to the end. See what's going on. Okay, guys, so without further ado, let's start with the show. So Abu Dhabi came to China, and um, and remember yesterday's video when I made an analogy about the Middle East and Dune, how the Harkonnens resembled the American Empire and China resembles the Atreides, House of Atreides, who want to do win-win with the Arabs rather than, take over their land and kill all the Arabs like the American Empire is doing. So Abu Dhabi has made a trip to China and everything was going well until Abu Dhabi started giving orders to China. So obviously this was done diplomatically, and China responded diplomatically as well. There's a lot of this story going around, so it must be true. But obviously some stories have blown it out of proportion. I don't think I don't think the Chinese delegation kind of shouted at Abu Dhabi like a lot of the papers are saying. A lot of the papers are saying that China actually went to town on Abu Dhabi, or shall I say UAE? Abu Dhabi is like the capital of UAE, so that's why I say it. So a lot of papers are blowing it out of proportion, saying China went to town on UAE and they started having a shouting match and things like that. I don't think that was the case. What happened is UAE went to China and they started doing all these deals. And they also said that they wanted China to not to have such deals with Iran. And they also said that they also gave China an ultimatum. They said, you either choose Iran or you choose us, basically. So it kind of rubbed up the wrong way. The Chinese obviously don't like these kind of idle threats coming from countries. The other countries that used to do this were the Europeans. If you remember during the Ukraine war, which is still going on, Europe came to China many times and they started doing the same threats. They said, if you want a relationship with us, you need to drop Russia, you need to stop buying Russian oil, you need to stop providing Russia with technology and weapons and things like that. Otherwise, we will never have, you know, a real relationship. So Abu Dhabi is doing the same thing, or should I say UAE? They're doing exactly the same thing as von der Leyen did. And the Chinese obviously weren't happy, but obviously they didn't show their anger. They probably said it in a more diplomatic tone that we do not like countries telling us what to do or who our allies are going to be. So let's face it, guys, let's be real about this. UAE is an American puppet, you know, and they are basically making, they're giving orders to China. Europeans are American puppets as well. They're all puppets. There's only a few sovereign countries in the world. So what's going to happen with these puppets? They will eventually stab you in the back. So if there's a war with China in the near future between America and China, what's America going to do first? They're going to go to all of their client states, vassal states, and they're going to say, stop supplying oil to China, stop doing trade with China, sanction China to death like they did to Russia, They're going to ask all their vassal states to do that, and they will do that. Look what they did to Russia. All the vassal states placed sanctions on Russia, completely try to destroy the economy, and they will do exactly the same thing to China as well. So this is why you cannot trust vassal states. You cannot trust these puppets in the UAE. So one minute they say, "Oh, you got to drop Iran and be with us," and these UAE lot or these people from Abu Dhabi will stab you in the back the first chance they get. Same with Europe. Europe tells China to drop Russia, but what do you think Europe is going to do when America comes knocking on their door and saying, "Oh, all right, stop placing sanctions on China"? Of course they're going to do that because Europeans are vassals, just like the UAE are vassals. And so are Saudi Arabia and Japan and South Korea. Not so much South Korea now, but used to be a lot, especially with the previous president. But you know what I'm saying? These vassal states are now going to China and just demanding who China has to, have relations with. I hope China told them to get lost, and I think that's exactly what they did. So if these vassal states wants to work with China, first of all, they need to learn how to be sovereign and not be such vassal states of the United States. This Iran war has proven who is a real vassal state in the Middle East. And these vassal states, UAE, Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, have all shown themselves to be absolute puppets. They rather destroy their own countries, they rather destroy their own economies just to please America and Israel. They don't care if their countries get blown up, their citizens get killed, their oil installations gets all blown up. They don't care about that. They rather give their bases and their airspace to America to attack Iran, and they're probably giving money to America as well behind the scenes to attack Iran, giving money to America, Trump, Israel. These people are such traitors. We did not see that Israel is looking to do the Greater Israel Project. And part of the Greater Israel Project is to seize half of Saudi Arabia. Did they not see that? Israel is the real enemy here, not Iran. Iran has never been what you call expansionist. They've never been that. They've never said they want half of this, they want half of that, they want this country, they want that country. They've never said that. The only thing that they claim is Bahrain. Bahrain used to be part of Persia. That's the only thing they claim. But I don't think they will do it. And yeah, it's absolutely crazy how these Gulf countries got the nerve to go to China and demand what they want. So let's talk about another country who's gone into China last couple of days. It's the Spain leader, Pedro Sanchez. And Pedro Sanchez has been doing some really good work in China. He spent a few days there. He went to, I think, Xiaomi factories and many other factories as well. He looked around China. He met a lot of people, and he made a great impression. And he made a great impression on China because I was reading the Chinese readout about the Spain visit, and it was very, very positive. They came to many deals. And I don't know if you guys realize, but Trump actually called China. I don't know if he spoke to Xi, but I think Trump, said. I mean, this is on the papers, by the way. This is on. I don't know if it's true or not, but this was on the Western papers. Apparently, Trump has told China not to deal with Spain. He told China to sanction Spain, and obviously China told Trump to get lost. And as a result, they stopped selling fertilizer to America because of that, threat. And then a few weeks later, you got this, Petro Sanchez, the Spanish leader, going into China, and they're making so many good deals. And China was saying some really nice things about Spain, and they said that Spain is on the right side of history, and they will do trade deals, and they will put Spain as a priority for trade deals. And they said Spain and China have a bright future ahead of them working together. And do you remember a few videos ago, guys? I think I made like 6 or 7 videos ago. I mentioned that Spain is going to slowly move towards the China side. I said that Spain would slowly eventually move on to BRICS. I think Spain would be the first European country to join BRICS. And I think Spain would be the first country to make very, very good deals with China. And I think it's going to happen, guys. I think, the near future, I see the European Union breaking. The European Union is not going to last. It's going to break within the next 5, 10 years easily. It's not going to be able to continue, especially with all the money they're pouring into Ukraine. And they've got no energies whatsoever. They've got no gas, energy, nothing coming from Russia. Everything's been blocked in the Strait of Hormuz. American gas and oil are way too expensive. So Europe is going to really suffer, and I think they're going to collapse within the next 5, 10 years, easy. And I think Spain is going to be the leading country in Europe that's going to be joining forces with China, with Russia, maybe, and also the Middle East, because don't forget, Spain is the first country to speak out against the crimes of Israel. The first European country. All the other European countries are pretty much scared to say anything about the genocide or say anything about Israel. But Spain is the first country to do so, brave enough to do it. So I think Spain will have lots of good relationships in the Middle East. They'll have very good relationships with China and eventually with Russia as well. And I think Spain is doing the right thing and they're making the right decision. And I think from this new European, architecture that's going to come out, I think Spain is going to be the first, you know, um, superpower coming out of Europe after European Union breaks. So it's going to be Spain becoming the next superpower. I mean, like they were, hundreds of years ago. There was a time when Spain was a superpower. They were pretty much running the world at one point. And I think they will go back to that superpower in Europe once again. And they're doing the right thing. They're making good relationships with China, which is going to be the world number one superpower. They're going to have very good trade links with them. They'll join BRICS, I believe. They are doing the right thing in Middle East. All the Middle Eastern countries love Spain, and Spain is saying the right things, doing the right things, and yeah, I think Spain is doing the right thing, guys. It's got a bright future ahead of them. Spanish people are amazing people, great people, and Spain will be a superpower once again. Okay, so let's talk about the next story. So this story is every time I hear this story about Iran and the negotiations, it just makes me laugh, guys. So apparently during the negotiations, obviously you had the two spies, Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner is the new Epstein, by the way. People are calling him the new Epstein, and the reason is the old Epstein basically brought too much heat to Israel. So because of all the stuff he was doing and all the what all the stuff he was doing, guys, all the trafficking and all the stories coming out and all the files coming out, so he was bringing out too much heat to Israel. So this is why they made a decision to get rid of him, and now his replacement is Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner has not got a title in the American office, in the American administration. He's not title member like Witkoff or Mark Rubio Marco Rubio or JD Vance. Yeah, at least they have titles like JD Vance is, vice president and stuff like that. Jared Kushner is nothing in the administration. So he's basically an American guy doing the foreign policy for America, while in fact he's actually doing it for Israel because he's a Jew and he reports to Netanyahu. And Netanyahu, even though he says it here, Netanyahu says that somebody from the administration calls him every single day, giving him updates every single day. And it's obviously Jared Kushner because he's the one closest to the president, and he's the one that's doing everything, like the foreign policies and going to Pakistan and doing all the negotiations for America. Well, in fact, he's doing it for Israel. So they went to the negotiations in Pakistan, and Witkoff and Jared Kushner. Witkoff is like the sidekick for Jared Kushner, and they were pretty much had JD Vance on alert. They basically were on his shoulder, looking at every single thing he says, and looking at everything he moves. Jared Kushner was just sent there to fail. There was no way those negotiations would go anywhere. So now America or Trump has come up with a plan saying he's going to block the Iranian Strait, or somehow he's going to block it. But Chinese ships are still going through. So if he tries to block any Chinese ships, we're talking about World War III here, guys, because any any Chinese ships get blown up or get blocked, then China will fight back, and China will fight back really hard. And Trump is not ready for whatever comes next if he starts, war with China. And already they've been embarrassed fighting Iran. You know, China will take them to the cleaners. Literally, America's got nothing left, guys. They hardly got any weapons left. They got hardly any missiles left. Any interceptor missiles have gone all over Asia. So all the American bases in Asia are just sitting ducks. China will take them out in days, maybe even in a couple of hours. They'll send hundreds and thousands of drones and missiles. They'll destroy all of those bases within hours, I would say. And any ships that's coming near China, they'll be blown up as well. And China also has a huge fleet of submarines as well. They've been churning them out every single year. You're going to be start sending them out in the sea and start taking out American ships everywhere. So America is not ready for a war with China. They will be absolutely beaten to a pulp. And America is still fighting war in Ukraine. They're still involved in Ukraine, by the way, and they're also still involved in Iran as well, because that war is not over. It's just going through ceasefire at the moment. So if Trump is not too careful, he could start a world war if he stops sending his Chinese ships going through, or even Russian ships as well. So really, Chinese ships are going through. Luckily, there's not been any incident, so let's hope it continues that way. So I want to show you this clip here of I don't know if you've seen this, guys, but this is basically. I'm going to show you this clip. So this is a clip of Wang Yi. He went to Israel a few years ago, 2018. This was before the genocide and everything. And this clip slowly started coming out now. And basically, Wang Yi gets sent a note. You can see some guy is sending him a note. And Wang Yi he sends it back. And he gives Netanyahu a deep stare. Netanyahu obviously stares at him back and he's nodding his head. And obviously, this note is probably a threat of some sort. And Wang Yi didn't like this threat. And Netanyahu, I mean, we all know Netanyahu is a killer. He's been killing women, children. He's been killing negotiators, press, UN workers, you name it. He's been killing all sorts of people. He's got hundreds of thousands of people's blood on his hands, basically. So this paper was obviously a threat to Wang Yi, and Wang Yi didn't like it. So both of them have kind of a face-off together. And you got to give it to Wang Yi for having the bravery to kind of face Netanyahu, because this was in Israel, don't forget. So you can imagine if you're like a foreign leader and you're in Israel and the leader of Israel threatens you, kill you, and you know that threat is real because he's killed guess how many people he's killed, women and children, throughout his life. And you got to take those threats seriously. So kudos to Wang Yi for having the bravery to stand up to this demon of a man. So let's play the clip here. You can see. So here, Wang Yi gives the paper back, and Wang Yi's obviously not happy, and he stares directly back at Netanyahu. And look at Netanyahu staring back. He's nodding. Netanyahu is nodding, and he's like, "Yeah, we see you. We got you. We're gonna do certain things to you." That's why he's nodding. And Wang Yi is obviously not happy. He's just staring at him. There's obviously lots of it's very very awkward for both of them. But look at Netanyahu. He's still staring at him. He's obviously trying to stare him out and trying to intimidate him. And then at the end, he shakes his hand. But this is madness. This is why nobody should go to Israel to do any kind of deal with this man whatsoever. This is what they do. They threaten you, and this is what he does to Trump and his people that work for his administration, people in Congress. I think that's what they do. They threaten these people with their lives, threaten them with the Epstein files, you name it. They'll threaten you with anything. Anyway, guys, that's all for now. Take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.